What's up, YouTube? We're back out here on the Yukon again today, and we got another issue we're going to address. So the other day when we did that oil pan, I noticed that we had a leak, and what it was a power steering leak at the power steering box. Now the Pitman Arm bolts to a shaft. There's a seal right in there. It looks like it's leaking pretty bad. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take that power steering box off and we're going to rebuild it. So here we have our leaking power steering box. And as you can see, it's a little wet right there at the shaft where the Pitman Arm bolts up. There's a seal back there behind that, and that's what's leaking. And as you can see, it's a little wet underneath here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that box. So to do that, you got a 21 millimeter nut here. You got three 21 millimeter bolts on the side. You got 11 millimeter on your steering shaft. You have a 18 millimeter flare that goes up there into your power steering line, and then the other one's a hose clamp. And after you undo all that, you just pull this assembly right off, and we're going to put it on the bench and rebuild it in there. And let me show you what the problem was here. See right here, this seal right here was leaking. What we're going to do is take this shaft out. We got some seals in there. We're going to replace some seals. Now, I've seen a lot of videos where they do this seal replacement with the shaft still in there. You can do that by running some screws down in there and kind of pulling it up. But what I'm going to do to make it a little easier, I'm going to actually take this shaft out from the other side. I got all the seals for the other side and this side, and that way we can tap them seals in and out pretty easily. Alright, you're going to want to tap this shaft out. Have you a pan down there because you're going to have some fluid come out. So the first seal we have is this little seal right here. This is the top seal. Next is the snap ring. Here's your snap ring. Next you got a washer spacer. This one's metal. Next thing we have is a plastic washer. Next thing we have is the top rubber seal. So as you can see, they all stack up like that right there in the bore. And the shaft goes up through the middle. I'm not sure about this top seal. I don't know if that's in there right or not. I don't know if this thing's been rebuilt or if it's a remanufactured one, but we'll just have to wait and see when we go to put these new seals in if this is the correct way. So you see down in the bore, it's nice and clean down in there. No issues. No scoring, no burrs, no nothing like that. Here's our shaft. We got a little bit of like visual wear, but it won't even catch a nail. It's real nice and smooth. This thing's probably been replaced before. So just the seals just need to be replaced. Like I said, I got the seal for this, and I got the lower seals here. And we'll get all that on there, and I think this thing will be fine, and that should solve our leaking problem. So here's all our new seals. You've got the O-ring for the big end over here on the shaft. And for this end of the shaft, you've got your inner seal. You got your metal washer spacer. You've got a new snap ring. And you got the outer seal. So to put these seals in, you're going to need something kind of like this right here. Now, this is a 1 1/4 inch socket. And you're going to use this to drive these seals into the bore. And as you can see here, it fits really good. And you'll put your seal in there, you'll put this on top of it, take your rubber hammer, tap this down, and you'll put all them seals up against that bearing right there. So here you got our shaft. We're going to go ahead and take this O-ring right here off. You do kind of want to lube this thing up a little bit before you install it. Pretty straightforward. You just take it, slide it over the shaft, slide it into the groove. So as you can see, we have the seals back in the bore. You do want to lube those things up in the middle there so they don't rub on the shaft and wear out prematurely. So we do have this dust boot that needs to go back in there. We'll place that in there like that. Now the next thing is just slide the shaft back in. So it's all back together here. Now the next thing to do is we're going to go ahead and attach the Pitman arm. So I've got a brand new Pitman arm here, and the one we had on there had a little bit of play. It wasn't terrible, but now's the time to go ahead and change it. So we're going to go ahead and put this on now before we stick it in the car. That's the best bet. While you got it in the vise, you know, you can hold it while you tighten this nut. Plus, you don't have a lot of room underneath the hood, so this is the way to go. Now the nut here, it is a 31 millimeter. Kind of a rare socket for somebody to have, but I actually have one. Now this nut, you're supposed to torque it down to 184 foot-pounds. Well, I don't have a torque wrench that will reach that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a breaker bar on there and tighten it down, and that should get us pretty close. This is not going to come off. It's got a lock nut on it. Especially it's not going to come off once I crank it down. So that's what we're going to do. so now we got this thing all back together. Next step is to go ahead and install it back on the truck. So we got everything hooked up. We got all the lines hooked up. There you can see it all hooked up. Next step is to start this thing up. Make sure we don't have any leaks. Of course, we're going to have to top off that power steering fluid before we do that. So your power steering fluid level is very important on a vehicle like this because you have hydro boost brakes. If you run low on power steering fluid, your brakes are not going to work that great. They're going to feel real hard. There's no vacuum booster. It's all hydraulic. So it's very important to make sure that you have that power steering fluid at the right level and that you don't have any leaks anywhere. So we topped off the power steering fluid, started this thing up, turned it lock to bleed some of the air out of the system, and as you can see, we have no more leakage there at the Pitman arm. So that seal kit did the trick. So we do have a little bit of wetness from when it was leaking before, and we're going to go ahead and clean that up, and this project is done. Check out my other videos on this Yukon, and check out some of the other videos I have on some of my other projects. Like, share, and comment. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below and click the bell so you'll get the notifications. And also, don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram.